All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back in to LTL Live here on the channel. It is Monday night. Wow, I feel like I haven't done a show in quite a while. I think it's been like a week. I did a members only last night for my members, but it's been like it's been a week. I love this Linda already kicking it off. I love the puns already. Linda says, "Wow, what good news!" And we're gonna get into that tonight. And I have something that I wanna replay for everybody. Something that I've been thinking about today. And we're going to get into all of that. But yeah, lots of things going on. It was nice to see Peter Murphy and the crew outside of front of Canton PD today protesting. Obviously, we've heard about Sergeant Sean Good, and has been literally put out on paid administrative leave, now pending a misconduct investigation. So got a lot of good stuff to get into. It's nice to see everybody here. Make sure to smash the like button when you come in. Subscribe if you haven't done that. And we'll get into all the things that are happening. It's just funny. You know, it slowly continues to trickle out here in Norfolk County. You know, all these corrupt ties, the ties that bind all of these police officers that have been involved in Karen Reed's case, the death of John O'Keefe, the murder of John O'Keefe, excuse me, and then all these other cases that they're tied to, Sandra Birchmore, and so on. So it all starts to come out. All the lies and the corruption and the cover-up eventually will surface. You just have to wait, give it time, because when you start lying, you can't continue to cover with other lies, because your lies will eventually catch up to you. But let's not wait too much longer here. I'm going to bring in my guest this evening on the Papa panel. Nan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. No pun intended.
Yeah, this was from some good news, so to speak.
Yeah, I need that drum, the boom boom. I don't know if I have that, but that would be funny. Yeah, you know, we have Sergeant Good now put out on administrative leave for alleged misconduct. And we'll pull an article up here in a minute and talk about that. Were you surprised when you heard the news today?
I was surprised, and there was like some foreshadowing that was going on yesterday. And I was surprised when I heard that. So I guess technically I wasn't surprised that it was confirmed today. However, I have felt all along, and I don't feel I'm alone, that there is going to be a reckoning. And when that reckoning takes place, you're going to see a lot of major figures fall. And in this case, Good, in my opinion, and I think you share it, actually played a very important role in all of this. So this is what happens when you have an officer like Trooper or former Trooper Proctor just misbehaving, involving others. And I don't think Good is alone in terms of who's going to be accountable for the misconduct here. And you'll start seeing them one by one by one, and it's all good news for Karen.
I love all the good puns. Yeah, and we're going to get into Proctor. We're going to do kind of a two-part show here tonight. Obviously, we're going to get into Sean Good, because that is the leading story here in and around Massachusetts, and obviously with the ties to Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. And then I want to go into the second half of the show. We're going to talk a lot about Michael Proctor. And, you know, we touched on this last show when we had our last show, I think last Monday, and we talked about, you know, the potential fallout of all the cases that Proctor has been involved in. And, you know, we had another hearing the other day, and Scarpiccio was talking a lot about this. So we'll bring up an article, talk about that. And then what I want to do is go back and remind everybody, you know, what we saw in the Karen Reed case, those readings of the text messages in trial 1, that was such a precursor of what we're going to see here. And it's, you know, this is going to fuck up a lot of cases. This is going to fuck up a lot of cases. You know, you have Brian Walsh's cases coming up, Miles King. And, you know, we were finding out what Proctor and his cronies and his superiors were talking about, you know, in those texts about Karen. And I, you know, we talked about this, you know, on multitudes of shows, is that if this guy's talking like this about Karen, he's talking about this with other cases and other people as well, too.
Oh, yeah. And obviously there's going to be discussion about, and we've had some, about the fact that it appears that Proctor's text messages really touched upon some of the issues involving Miles King, who's, my understanding, is an African-American defendant, but not so much in the Brian Walsh case, who is a Caucasian gentleman. And that is a troubling indicator that there is a systemic problem. It's not just one former trooper who may hold really insidious views and be misusing and abusing his role and responsibility, but also former trooper Proctor in sharing this content and this type of talk with cohorts who are similarly situated as him, and they're not reporting him, disciplining him, coming clean, self-reporting themselves for receiving this type of content from him. It's showing that this is an environment where that type of inappropriate behavior and language is acceptable. And that is where you're going to start to see every single person who was involved start going down one by one.
Yeah, I mean, there's been allegations like this over the last 20 years about the MSP, about, racist allegations. And, now we're all starting to see that surface. And that's why, one of the allegations or the alleged text messages or texting chains that Proctor was tied up with was that there was some racial stuff that had come up in his text messages. And he immediately withdrew with all the other nefarious shit that's inside of, inside those text messages. I want to see him. I want to know what's in the text messages. I'm going to try to get them. I'm going to try to get them and put them out there. Go ahead, Nan. Sorry.
But by the way, I happen to be looking at your screen here, and the question from Little Miss Red Velvet. Hello, how are you? I would mention my feeling is, and it's just a gut feeling, that the next to see some accountability is either or both Buchanan or Fanning. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll see.
Tully's going to be at the top of that list as well, too. I see
Tully, absolutely. Tully, from my view, and in absorbing all of the content from creators that I do, I feel like Tully is so ingrained in so much more of this, as is Fanning. But Tully touches upon the root of so many different matters that I'm following up there. I think he's still being looked at. And I don't think any decisions are going to be made as to him on like a piece by piece basis. I think he's more of a totality of circumstances. And if I were him, I would be the most fearful out of all of the officers in terms of what's coming down the pike for him.
And then you have to look at the situation too, where, the top brass are going to look at this whole situation and say, okay, what was their part in this? What was their part in this? What was their part in it? Because they can't lose the whole fucking fleet. So they got to turn around and say, okay, who do we play clean face here? And who do we throw under the bus to save, to help try to save some of these investigations? I think that's kind of politicking is going to go on behind the scenes as well, too.
That's a really good observation. There's another side to that also, which is not just what investigations and pending cases can they save, but also who will they not disrupt and discipline to try to capture more of the bad actors. It's almost like a little bit of entrapment. Like, let's not go after, for example, just an example, let's not go after someone like Fanning for now.
Right.
But Fanning has his tentacles enraptured in the Sandra Birchmore case. So let's keep him solo. He's doing his thing. And maybe if we give him enough rope, he'll hang himself with it. Of course, I'm being figurative, but there's a whole lot of strategy in play here. And at some point in the future, I want to ask Todd McGee that in terms of what his experience has been in terms of the order in which troubled officers are taken down.
Yeah, and Boston Wild says, I bet you the MSP is trying to figure out how to get rid of those text messages. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Linda's asking, do you think the FBI is still collecting information? Yes.
Oh, yes.
I don't think it's ever stopped. And what's going to happen, like we see in a lot of FBI investigations, that when they conclude their investigation, and we know they don't spring until they got, the goods on everybody, and they'll spring. And you're going to see, I think, a lot of people go down.
We need to start a drinking game tonight. How many times we say good, But
Yeah.
but just a quick point on that.
Mm,
Back when there was the, what I dare say, fake announcement back in like late February, early March, uh, and I think it was late February, from Hank Brennan and Helena Rafferty indicating that the FBI or federal investigation had been closed, which I never believed.
Hank Brennan said it
Back
too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but back when that news broke, and I'm not alone, but I have been saying from the get-go, unwavering, that investigation never stopped.
Yeah.
And for the audience, I would point out to you all that that investigation really wasn't an investigation of who killed Officer John O'Keefe, or did Karen Reed strike Officer John O'Keefe. That was part of it. That was a symptom of a broader problem up there. But that investigation that was done by the feds, which I believe, with 25 years of legal experience, is still ongoing. I have been one of a few attorneys on YouTube whom I follow, who has absolutely said since the get go, I don't think this federal investigation went anywhere. There's
Right.
been absolutely no confirmatory evidence to prove that to me. And from my experience, the feds don't announce when they're closing a case. And I have had face to face discussions with lawyers who are directly involved in some of these matters. And they've said to me, yeah, well, it may be closed. It may appear to be closed. And I've said, nope, I don't think so. So the feds just sit and they lurk and they watch. And once they're ready, they pounce.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually when they got it, that's when they pounce
Yeah.
and make this known to the public. All right, let's look at this article that came out here from WCVB5. Member of the Canton Police Department accused of misconduct and is placed on leave. A member of the Canton Police Department who testified in the Karen Reed trial is on paid administrative leave after being accused of misconduct. The department announced on Monday. The town was notified on October 24th about the allegations of misconduct, and Sergeant Sean Good was placed on leave. Quote, the town engaged an independent investigator to conduct a thorough administrative investigation into the allegations of misconduct, a town official said in a statement. Reed, who was accused and later acquitted of the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. In Reed's first trial, Good, an 18-year veteran of the department, testified that he had been working as a patrol supervisor the night O'Keefe died. He was on the list as a possible witness for Reed's second trial. In Monday's announcement, acting police chief Joe Perkins said he learned of the allegations against Good during an investigation of a former member of a different law enforcement agency, but did not specify if Good's alleged misconduct was related to the Reed case. Quote, the town and the town's department take all allegations of misconduct seriously. Members of the town's police department are expected to perform their duties in a professional manner. The town is committed to providing the quality of level of service of the citizens of Canton deserve from the police department. And to that end, we will now take the necessary steps to ensure that the actions by the individual officer does not jeopardize the quality and level of service, the statement said. Earlier this year, the Canton Police Department was subject of an audit about the handling of the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The audit had been held before a second murder trial of Reed and did not find any evidence of corruption, tampering, or conspiracy, despite some criticism of the department's crime scene protocol. Bullshit. One of the questions, right? One of the questions about the police investigation was the decision to use a leaf blower to uncover blood stains and broken pieces of glass. Auditors, however, did find fault Canton's police officer not photographing O'Keefe in the spot where he was first found, and also noticed that critical witness, excuse me, who were with Reed at the time of O'Keefe's body was found, including Jennifer McCabe and Kerry Roberts, were not immediately interviewed at police headquarters afterwards, where they had been, where they could be recorded. The auditors also criticized the way Canton officers use red Solo cups to collect evidence, but there had been no evidence police tried to frame or anyone else in the case. Bullshit. Nan, what do you think about this?
I think it's
What are
total
you
bull.
thinking?
I think it's bull. I mean, half of what's in this article is bullshit, but I do if I may, I would like to give a shout out to Boozy Beauty,
Mm,
who really encapsulated for someone like me yesterday all of Sean Good's involvement in the Karen Reed investigation and timeline. And any creator or keyboard warrior who goes out there and puts forth substantive content that is valuable and important for consumers like me, and I dare say your audience, which I respect greatly, is always so appreciated because not only does it draw attention back to why someone like me is here in the first place, but it also
mm.
helps to tie together things that we probably didn't even realize. I know I didn't. I did not realize how ingrained Officer Good was in all of the different aspects of the early stages of this investigation, or having missed tremendous opportunities by not asking simple questions that he could have and should have asked while at ground zero of this aftermath of this accident. I'm happy there is an article, but I think there's some parts of it that I take umbrage with.
Yeah, and we're gonna go back and look at trial 1, and I wanna
Hmm.
specifically look at the 911 call here in a minute, and, we're gonna talk a little bit about that, but Just Jim, $5, thank you so much, and I also want to, welcome Blue Lights Worldwide for being a new member, I appreciate that. Just Jim, $5 says, "Nan mentioned possibly Fanning next. If Fanning ends up similar to Good, can someone look into Bev's bias regarding Fanning's jury tampering again?" It's a great question. Love
It
that.
is. And also, to Just Jim and others, I will tell you these types of questions that are marked as super chats. This is my view. They definitely stand
Sure.
out to me more. It's not my
Right.
channel, but I can tell you I'm blind as a bat. But that's a great question. So the issue of Bev's bias technically can't be revisited again. That's really technical answer because there has been an acquittal had she been convicted in a notable way, not the driving under the influence, but had Karen been convicted in a noteworthy, substantive way, then she would have filed an appeal and would appeal the conviction, and then the bias would become appealable and an issue to look at. However, with that said, Just Jim, when you think about revisiting Bev's bias, especially if Fanning were to fall next, and he may very well, Karen, from everything I'm seeing and reading and listening to, is going to be launching a civil rights action. And part of that civil rights action will include some claim for her being treated disparately as a defendant, inappropriately, discriminately, in a way that she was not treated fairly. And she will, through her attorneys, point to decisions that were made along the way, including Judge Bev's decision on Fanning that he did not. I mean, I was actually there that day, where Judge Bev had said, no, Fanning didn't do anything, and she just shrugged it off and dismissed it without even giving it a moment's thought. And it was palpable in that small little courtroom. So in Karen's civil rights action, they will revisit and explore all of the aspects where the criminal trial was turning against her, down to evidentiary rulings, side bars, as they say up there, and
Mm.
the like. So it's something to look at, but I don't necessarily think there's anything that can be done unless she files that civil rights action, and that will be done as far as I understand it.
Yeah, Little Miss Red Velvet firing out all the questions tonight. Another one here for Nan. Nan, is Karen in any danger of being indicted again for the
Hmm.
witness tampering accusation?
Every time I read Little Miss Red Velvet's comments, Brian, I think about the fact that I heard her call in to a show the other day,
Yes.
and I'm
She's from
picturing her.
across the pond.
Yes, I'm picturing reading this question with a British accent. So,
Yeah.
is she in danger of being indicted again? Well, everybody could be in danger of any indictment coming out of Norfolk County, pardon my French. But with that
Mm.
said, um, is she in danger? I don't see it as a danger that looms because first of all, I don't know. I'm not I'm not there knowing all that has
I
transpired.
think, and I'm going to kind of jump in here. I
Yeah.
personally think that this will never be over until Karen Reed is completely and done with this
Yes.
fucking court system in Massachusetts. I mean, we have to keep in mind the shadow here that is shadowing and always lurking in the shadows is Michael Morsi. That is the ultimate devil in all of this. But I think that, it, like you said, Nan, and I'm gonna kind of piggyback. I mean, anything is possible, but Michael Morsi is the devil, and he's always lurking, and they're just frothing at the mouth to try to catch someone in this on something. And that's just my personal opinion. So when Karen is
Yeah.
free and clear of all of this, the civil shit, and it's all put behind her, she's probably going to have that opportunity to finally go,
Yes.
but it's going to be a while.
The proverbial exhale, which I can absolutely say she cannot do that right now. She
Yeah.
cannot speak to any pending issues because even though she's been acquitted criminally, she has a civil trial that is coming. She has her own civil rights action, which I believe, as I said, is forthcoming. And also, until the moment comes where everything resolves in a way that she is no longer in danger of any further charges being brought her way, and appropriate statutes of limitation to bring such charges toll, then she's not going to be able to exhale. And I would
Mhm.
also just like to add that that is the best legal advice that any lawyer would give her, is to just remain quiet at this time. It's different. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is different than you have the right to remain silent. She's not risking things criminally right now in the matter in which she was acquitted. But if there is any desire to peg her on some other secondary charge, she should just be silent. But there are things that I would have to believe she wants to speak on, and when she can, I'm very much looking forward to hearing what
Yeah.
she has to say. And I also am very, I feel very, I guess, opinionated. I'll simply say that I feel a little opinionated on this subject because I have heard much gratitude from her to supporters in the wake of her acquittal, and I don't think she can have said any much more than that. So I'm going to patiently await till the time that she can speak and
Mhm.
continue to give her the support that I and others have given her along the way.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to my Michael Morsi comment, I think that they're just going to look for any angle to drag her into anything, and that's probably the advice of her lawyers to say, "Hey, probably the best thing right now is to remain quiet. Your
Hmm.
time will come. Let's get through all these other, out, legal activities we need to go through,
Yeah.
the civil trial, and the best thing is to just completely be, you know, I guess." Separated from everything and just concentrate on her legal trials. I mean, it's not over for her. I'm sure she's
Right.
facing a lot of stress still, in the mounting weight of a civil trial. It's crazy. I'm asking what you think any of these leaves of absence have any bearing on the Karen Reed civil trial?
Yeah,
Good
they
question.
they they do. And in I don't think it was on your stream, Brian, but in recent
Sure.
weeks I was talking about how I equate these leaves of absence, early retirements, shifts to different jurisdictions, all of these kind of lateral moves or moves to avoid ultimate resolution and discipline. I equated that to the Catholic Church scandal and what happens in healthcare law, which is my specialty,
Yeah.
where physicians will leave hospitals to elude investigations. But then there are state laws in many states, including in New Jersey, where I'm sitting right now, that put into place protections that if a doctor has been charged with an allegation that he's done
Sure.
something really wrong, he can't just leave to avoid that investigation without it being reported to a higher level, an actual federal agency and data bank. It's a reportable event. So these leaves of absence will matter. It shows a pattern of systemic hiding the ball, obfuscating issues, avoiding ultimate accountability, which I know is very important to you, Brian,
Yeah.
of consequences of actions or inactions. So if I were Karen's team, or Karen herself, who's like apparently one hell of a lawyer herself, I would be just making a spreadsheet of all of the leaves of absence or transfers to other jurisdictions,
Oh,
demotions, and the like.
I'm sure she has it. That's a
Yeah.
spreadsheet ready to go and just clicking the names in.
Encyclopedic, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Which is
Exactly.
good. It all kind of shows on a different scale a little bit of consciousness of guilt. And I'm using that in the least technical way possible. I don't mean
Right.
consciousness of criminal guilt. I just mean when you transfer someone or suspend them without pay, put them on leave without pay, demote them, you're showing as an agency or a department that you're not willing to ultimately hold these people accountable. You're just hiding the fact that they've done something wrong and trying to put, as they say, lipstick on a pig. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. NH Dude 603 says, does Nan think that Karen Reed will win on her civil litigations?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, thank you, NH Dude. I think she's going to be very successful without having seen the pleading, but hearing the individuals or entities that Alan Jackson rambled off in court a few weeks back, and I think there may be more who will be added to that list that he gave the judge at the time. I feel very confidently, having filed hundreds of civil rights actions in my experience, that she has one hell of a case it's going to turn in her favor. And as just a reminder to the audience, in these civil actions, not just a civil rights action, but in civil actions, you get much more
Oh, yeah.
robust discovery, much longer depositions. You hopefully have a judge who's much more liberal in what he allows to be admissible at trial. But in civil actions, everything's quote discoverable, so it's not like you're tied to these protective orders where things don't get disclosed. The parties get everything. Whether they get presented to the ultimate civil jury is another story, but those rules on evidence are quite liberal. So I think a lot is going to come out in the civil action. And for anyone who's really longing for answers and hanging on to find out more of the resolutions to these mysteries, it's the civil action, the wrongful death suit that's filed against Karen, and her anticipated civil rights action. That's where you're going to get a lot of key answers.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, Karen's next hearing's on the 21st. This information coming out is probably one of the best things that could have happened right before that civil, the next civil step in her case, because I'm sure that, there's going to be information that they can get and share or possibly bring into the civil action. So
Oh,
just going to have to
yeah.
wait to see how this all plays out. But it's all, it's good news for Karen. I look at this as like highly good news for her
Oh, yeah.
in her case going forward. Let's see this. NH Dude says, thank you, Nan. Appreciate you too, Brian. Absolutely. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Any more questions? Everybody's got great questions tonight. I love this.
That's
I love this.
wonderful.
Let's see. Anne says, in my opinion, it's just beginning for good in many others. Unions protect cops too much, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is the thing that I want people to understand. The sharing of information in cases like this. What is the first thing that happens when it involves police officers and an alleged corruption or an act of corruption that they may be involved with? The first people that step in are union representatives and lawyers, and they put up the fucking barricade.
Yeah.
So that's why it takes forever to get into this, interviews, documentation, evidence, whatever it may be, because ultimately those scumbags, their job is to protect their person, protect them and shield them from any way of possibly getting in any type of trouble. So,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that the wheels of justice, unfortunately, sometimes move very, very slowly in cases
Yeah.
like this. But this is still good. I mean, look, we're now what? July, August, September, October, November, almost 5 months out from Karen's second trial, the acquittal, and we're still getting information that is popping up. This is
Oh,
such a
yeah.
good thing for the state of Massachusetts and for the people of Norfolk County, and of course for Karen, because
Yeah.
it hasn't stopped. The curtain is still continuing to be pulled back by, continue to be pulled back by Toto. You know, what did
Yeah.
Toto do? Toto went over, grabbed the curtain, and exposed the wizard. And that's what we're getting here.
And if I can remind everyone, one of the things that happened before or right contemporaneously with when Proctor withdrew his appeal, he lost the support of his union. And those union, I mean, that could be a whole other show. Don't get me wound up on unions. But I mean, just the whole concept of collective bargaining agreements would put you all to sleep and would fire me up greatly. But with that said, they really only protect their own, and it's not always to protect what's right. It's to protect the good. I said it again, but to protect the good of all of the union members. It's a very corrupt scheme. I don't mean anything nefarious when I use the word scheme, but unions, I have real problems with them conceptually to begin with.
Yeah, and Joyce says unions were good before civil rights, before the Americans with
Mm-hmm.
Disability Act. Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Yeah, a question from Brooklyn. You know, look, with these new developments, will this cause the Canton PD to dramatically increase the number of the new recruits? I'm sure. I mean, if
It
you have
better.
cops, if you have cops that are falling off one by one, and you don't have a police force, of course. But then you have to look at, the fact of who is leading them, who is training them. Is there more? Is there still corrupt individuals that are involved in this training? Are they showing them the corrupt ropes? That's the way you have to kind of look at this. But again, maybe this is just the start,
Mm-hmm.
and thank God that we got, well, not we, but I'm saying Karen got those, those Proctor texts, because look of the chain of events. I mean, it's done a lot of good, no pun intended, but it's done a lot of bad in the sense of the cases that he's involved with, where, this could really fuck up a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like Karen is like a Spartacus or a sacrificial lamb here. None of that feels warm and cozy to her, I'm sure. But her role has helped to uncover all of this trickery and corruption, misconduct, conspiracy, all of it that's going on up there, which I get asked a lot, like, hey, why don't you go away, Nan Gallagher? And I don't go away because I'm intrigued. I'm bothered by all of the corruption that seems to be uncovered currently, and it's all intricately tied together. So this is a real important pivotal moment in time where many things are aligning, like those other kind of collateral cases, Birchmore, Brian Walsh, Miles King, Kelsey Fitzsimmons, Gigliotti, all of these different matters converging at the same time to different degrees are all showing systemic police problems up there, and in my opinion, corruption at the the governmental attorney level.
Yeah, little miss says, Nan, can Karen sue the state after? She's going after everybody.
Yes.
I mean, she's going to go after everybody.
It's coming.
Let's see here. This is interesting. Stacy says there is talk that Proctor is in a facility. Not sure if that's true, but my thought is, could he go into the witness protection? Now, witness protection is if you're under any threat of your life.
Yes.
I think I'm correct on that. So I don't know if there's been any threat on his life, or what the parameters, what other parameters witness protection include.
Right.
I think ultimately what he would just do is just go to the federal, the FBI, and just say, here, this is what I know. This is what I've done. This is what I know, what all the other people are involved in this, this event. and just basically spill the beans. And
Yeah.
probably have, depending on, you know, what they want to do with his charges or his involvement, they would just probably make a deal with him at some point. Because if there's bigger fish to fry in this, you know, getting to those people that were inside of 34 Fairview that night, and they can get solid evidence of what happened, and he is a gateway to that, I'm sure they would work some type of deal.
Yes. And I know Stacy posited it about there's talk that he's in a facility. That's my understanding as well. So that may actually not ever be officially confirmed because that may involve protected health information for
Right.
him. But I don't see the two as tied together. So if that is indeed true, that he has been admitted, whether voluntarily or not, to some type of mental health facility, I don't necessarily know if that would be tied to other potential consequences that where he would need witness protection. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily. I appreciate the $5 super sticker, and I love the your little avatar there. Wendy and Terrence says, Brian and Nan, so happy to see you here. I love that. Michelle, hi, Brian and Nan. Good to see you. And Harper49 says, love watching Brian and Nan together. They always have an interesting show. Yeah, I mean, if you want to come here, be educated, brought forth the facts that we talk about, and keep things, you know, factual here. That's the type of content that we put out here, and what we continue to put out here. And, you know, that's why I bring on the excellent guest and you know, have their expertise here to answer your questions. You know, I'm just
Yeah.
here to lead the conversation, but I want you all here to ask them questions. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Let's go look, and I want to look at Sean Good's testimony. And I want to go back, and I'm going to look at my notes here. I want to go back and look at the 911 call. But I want people, when we listen to this, to focus not on Jennifer McCabe during the call. Let's focus on Sean Good. And I find it very strange for someone that, you know, he just sounds like completely calm, given the fact that there's an unconscious person outside on Brian Albert's front lawn at 34 Fairview, and just never really oddly asked Jennifer McCabe any questions. It's almost, you know, allegedly, could he maybe possibly have known what happened in 34 Fairview before that phone call?
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I want everybody to do this as well too. And I'm not a body language expert, but I just want to say, let's look at his body language when Adam Lally comes over and brings that CD and plops it down in front of him. I see, when I look at it, some nerves. So let's do this. Let's pull that up.
I love this. I love looking at it through the lens
You've
where
got to.
we're looking at good.
Is this the possible corruption that he's involved in? Is this why, you know, does this do these roads lead to this? Is this part of it? We don't know. All right, let's play this.
May I approach again?
Yes.
Let me turn this up a little
So, Sean, you remember this? Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What do you recognize that?
that'd be the 911 call from Mrs. McCabe.
I'll move to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Okay.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish Exhibit 36 to the jury now as well.
Okay.
No, please report line, whatever it is.
Yes, I need someone to come to 34th, 34th years ago, we did have the Indian tapped out in the snow.
Can't pull up, because you can't finish phone. You connected to no, okay?
Yeah, no, I did that.
Yes, the house is right there line.
I think he's doing, like, 50%
By the way, the audio is fucking terrible. And I don't think there's any close
I'm blasting it to try to decipher it. I might be deaf when we're done, but keep going.
Yeah. Lady Zelda says, I got PTSD from just hearing her voice. Yeah.
Okay. Where's the market? I don't think I can carry that.
911 emergency.
Immediately and start the new road can't be that.
What's going on?
There's a guy on the chocolate in the snow.
In the snow, 34?
Yes, 34, the Albert resident, yes, I just pulled up and found it.
Okay, 34
34 p.m. you can't have it, yes.
911 is under order, emergency. Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry, can you come to 34? Yes, you wrote it, yes,
34 Fairview?
yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay,
He's gonna get here,
okay, what's going on? Is he face down?
We just stepped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone?
Look at Karen, and Jackson. Like, they've almost like discussed this, you know?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The point that we're bringing up here, you know, like, look at the way she's eyeballing Jackson right now.
Oh yeah. I mean that to me that's the face of an angry defendant, you know.
Yeah, there's no
I've
closed
gotten that
captions
look
on
from
this video.
clients.
Yeah, there's no closed captions on this video, unfortunately. We're just gonna have to kind of power through it. But watch Karen's body language through this.
Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay,
He's gonna get here,
okay, what's going on? Is he face down?
We just stepped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone?
It's broken, he has stroke feet.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46, how long has he been outside?
I don't know, I don't know, he got out of the car and it could have been a couple of hours. Is he, Carrie, I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to, it could be heat and it's
Okay, can you just try asking? I know it's tough, but we have the fire department going, they just get it.
Is he breathing, you guys? It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to test it?
Yes, he's got to be CPR. No, I guess he's gone.
Oh, okay. They don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police coming on the way. If everyone's just finding CPR, then I'll hang up with you.
Wow, what a good point, huh?
Mhm.
And again, we're only speculating here, but Ann says Higgins was probably behind good listening, in my opinion.
I think so too.
Or he could have allegedly had a tip off here. Maybe knew what already had happened. It just seems too calm for me.
Yep.
If anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys upset?
I'm better than this is her. I know, I'm the phone with the ambulance. I know. No, Kelly, you gotta get off of me. Kelly, you gotta get off your head.
Do you know if there was any alcohol or drugs involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen, bring it up. Possibly had already spoken. Go ahead, Nan.
Oh, sorry. No, just a quick comment here. I think it's really Bush League for the pool camera to focus at all on the family when a 911 call is playing.
Yeah.
That's Bush League. I didn't really appreciate that during the trial, but I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and then he says he never asked for John's full name. See what everybody, this is great. When you go back and look at this stuff, you know, people have all their, more questions to ask here.
I'm talking about me, and
Okay, is there any bleeding or anything? Maybe his head up?
yeah, possibly.
bleeding from the face. Now take the full blood that you gave it to me.
That's bizarre.
If I could ask you just to back that up about 10 or 15 seconds or so.
How bizarre that there was sirens during that outside the courthouse.
Yeah.
Okay, bleeding from the face. All right. Now take the full blood if there is any.
Something coming out of the building, one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one on the is doing CPR.
Yes, that's working on her.
All right, if you want the CPR, and just let me, just give us a call back if he becomes responsive, all right, but we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
What is that?
Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
Ooh. But someone put in your chat that there's Cox responded to
Yeah.
Alan Jackson's letter. We gotta grab that.
I got it right now.
Oh,
Just
nice.
saw that.
We did not see it, guys,
No.
but it might
2 hours ago.
Oh, see?
So let's see here. Boston PD Commissioner Cox responds to Karen calls by Karen Reed's lawyer to be placed on the Brady list. Here we go. Karen Reed's defense attorney, Alan Jackson, sent Mayor Michelle Wu a scathing letter calling on Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox to be placed on the Brady list. Excuse me. This is a list that's used by prosecutors to track officers who have engaged in misconduct or credibility issues. Quote, what we need is to not be asked this question ever again pertaining to anything to do with the police department. My condolences to O'Keefe family for what they've gone through, because we did lose a department member. But outside of that, this has been nothing to do with us, and I'm not going to speak on this again. Boston Police Commissioner Cox told Boston 25 News on Monday. Commissioner Cox also shut down allegations that he would be stepping down after the election. Quote, I am denying that rumor, said Commissioner Cox.
Okay. Well, may I, my friend, this is a better use of public relations than Cox exhibited back in July when he gave his absolutely abysmal response to the reporters on, I guess it was on the street or outside of a yeah, it's like, I was in Michigan. This is
Michigan,
this
Massachusetts.
This is better PR. However, I think it was foolish for him to issue such a statement, if anything. And if I actually couldn't see it for your viewers, just so you understand, for the guest on the StreamYard, I can't blow it up. It looks a little small to me. But if Cox said that himself, oh, thank you so much.
No,
if Cox said that himself, which it does look like that's his direct quote, I will tell you, yeah, maybe he won't be stepping down after the election, but he's suddenly going to retire early, or someone's going to transfer him or something like that. This type of statement should have been issued by someone other than Cox, in my opinion. And then I want to know your thoughts, Brian. And someone also mentioned, for what it's worth, Microdots apparently dropped some video on Good as well.
Oh, look at that. It's just flowing today. It's all Karen Reed all over the place. Look at this.
Yeah.
Let me read it again. What I need is to not be asked this question ever again pertaining to anything to do with the police department. My condolences to the O'Keefe family for what they've gone through, because we did lose a department member. Outside of that, this has nothing to do with us, and I'm not going to speak on this again. It has nothing to do with us. You were prepped by the FBI. They told you what department member was going to be testifying in Karen Reed's trial. You had Dever, Veruca Salt at your office.
Yeah.
And had a conversation with her and told her what? To do the right thing. Do the right thing. So I don't want to hear it. It does have something to do with them. Fuck
and
them.
one of them's lying. And by the way, I saw in your chat, Karen, I think her name is, or an RN, had said they put a microphone in his face. He couldn't ignore them. Of course, but there's really a strong potency to two words: no comment. He stepped in it. Yeah, this is my opinion. He stepped in it in the summer. And there's no way, and I'm not implying that you were implying this. I think her name, Kathy, excuse me, Kathy RN. I'm not saying you're implying this, but there is no way he would not have been prepared for that type of question. That question, and I think I discussed this on your stream last week, Brian, like he would have had at least the weekend before she even gave her testimony, because her testimony was punted over to the other side of a weekend. He would have been prepped by some type of public relations, or should have been, before he was ever answering questions. But he really stepped in it by giving the stupid, that's a legal term, answer that he did give. But now he's apparently grown a set, and he's going to say, I'm not speaking of this again. I think I spoke to my 12-year-old daughter that way the other day. I'm not speaking about, you cannot go to that dance. I'm not speaking about this again. Okay. I mean, is he did he suddenly become petulant? And last time I checked, he would be paid by taxpayer dollars from Boston. So, or the state. I don't know how his remuneration goes, but he's going to have to answer that question again and again and again and again. So he better get used to finding a better way to substantively and credibly answer it.
Yeah, and thank God for Corey Hopkins that,
Yes.
did all these FOIA requests and then said, fuck that. You're not giving me information in a timely manner. I'm just going to take you to court. And then all of a sudden, look what starts getting coughed up. Oh, and by the way, and I'm sure you watched this all unfold on X the other day. If the audience doesn't know this, so I was in a tweet with Corey, and there was another account. I think the account is Kyle Sharkey. And Kyle actually tweeted at me and said, hey, what's the follow-up on Barros? Do you have any other information? And I have a lot of pending FOIA requests right now. And, we were having a discussion, and I started kind of outlining, what items I had FOIA'd to MSP. And we were in about about an hour conversation on X, kind of going back and forth every couple of minutes. So I end that conversation. I head off for work for the day. And while I'm in my car, I get a call from Joshua Riley, that is one of the legal representatives over at MSP. And he's like, is this Brian X? And I'm going, and I don't recognize the voice. I don't recognize the number. And I go, who's calling? And they go, is this Brian X? And I go, yeah, it is. And he goes, oh, hi, my name's Joshua Riley. I'm a representative with the MSP. And my fucking mind blew. And he goes, you have pending FOIA requests that I want to discuss with you. And I'm like, okay. And we're running down the list. And he goes, oh yeah, there shouldn't be a problem. Like, we should be able to get those out to you pretty soon in a timely manner. And I'm like, these motherfuckers are watching what we're talking about. I mean, that can't just be coincidence, right? That's not, I mean, how would they know about that? They had to have been watching the tweet stream.
They had to. I don't believe in coincidences. There had to. And Corey is exceptional. I don't know exactly if she maybe pulled a few strings, or if her inquiry or inquiries dusted some things off and made some individuals on the disclosing parties end a little concerned that they should be very responsible in how they timely disclose information. But she's a treasure. She's a wonderful
awesome.
treasure.
Yeah. We've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of days through X messaging. I want to find that tweet so you all can see it. I mean, it was fucking crazy. I was like, what? And then it was just the whole tweet, the whole incident was just wild. Hang on. I want to share this with you guys. Let's share my screen. StreamYard, you got to give us the ability to queue multiple tabs. It makes it a lot easier transition. So here, I said, what a coincidence. After an open conversation this morning with Marbury versus Mad, that's Corey Hopkins, and Kyle Sharkey here on X about the long delay in receiving my Massachusetts State Police records request submitted months ago, some of them months ago, someone from the MSP, which is Joshua Riley, reached out within 2 hours to let me know that my request will be fulfilled in a few days. Now, it's been a few days. I'm going to tap tap them probably tomorrow, and see how they're, making progress on my request. But that is fucking bizarre.
It is.
It's
It
almost,
is.
I'm like, they're so watching us.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't stress this enough because I've seen it in my practice and I've seen it firsthand in some of these Massachusetts matters recently. People should become more invested in FOIA requests. Sometime, and by the way, you're so vigilant with them, Brian, and you're so diligent in following up on
Corey
them.
said I'm
And
the master at getting body cam footage because I just push
You
and
are.
push and push and push.
yeah, but there's also a value in people with strong public voices, or strong skill set to disclose what they've procured. Multiple FOIA requests to an agency. When multiple people request information, it happens more often than we think, where some things trickle through to one requester but not to another. So sometimes the person or persons who are responsible for disclosing the records, they may disclose more to one party versus another requesting party, and that's where things start to sift through. So it's a system of checks and balances. I would encourage more people to get invested in the FOIA process, as long as me as an invested content consumer, as long as we can agree that you're going to post the goods when you get them. I said goods again, but
Oh, yeah.
bring them forward so there can be a transparent discussion about what's being disclosed.
Yeah, I think people are going to be happy with a very particular one that I'm going to be getting. So stay tuned. There's going to be some video footage that's going to be there that has been promised to me. They just have to literally go through it, because if there's any medical information that is said on those tapes, they obviously have to blur it out because of HIPAA and all that shit. But yeah, we should be having some requests soon. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what we have, and it opens up for transparency again. And that's why I got all of that video footage of Karen's arrest. I wanted people to see what happened and how she was treated during those arrests, because it's very important. And look, we got the goods on Proctor in that, where he said, "Do you see her? She's fucking crazy."
Yeah.
And that just helps along with all this shit that he talked about her in these text messages. It's not a good look for him.
Yeah, and now that you brought up the Karen Reed webcam, the body cams, that I know I went through some of them with you, I just want to make one comment, which is, it's my opinion that the disclosure and discussion, the broadcasting of the body cam footage that has been broadcast by you and some others is vital, very important to Karen's advancement of her civil rights action.
Yep.
And I mean that. I mean that as a lawyer who would be litigating her case. The public should be seeing how law enforcement mistreated her, even though it felt perhaps to some a little, oh, should we be airing this? Or it felt a little cringe or upsetting to some people. Not at you, Brian, but just the whole concept of it, that this is a private moment for her. Let me tell you something, that needs to come out, because more people should be talking about that experience she had. And for one reason alone would be just what you talked about. That's where you start to really see Proctor's problems in how he started to treat her disparately, and how there was this conscious effort to thwart cameras. They didn't want to be captured on cameras at the premises of the home or homestead. I don't know if it was the parents' home or her home. But they want to hide their own behavior.
Right.
That shows that consciousness of guilt that I was talking about before. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents.
Yeah, and if any of you here that's watching this live stream today and haven't seen those body cam videos, you can. It's on my channel. You can go right to the home page and just click on the playlist, and it's right there. It's all listed in a playlist, and you can go through them at your leisure if you want to watch those. And that's why I put them out there. I wanted the public to be full. That, you know, the thing that people have to understand, and I didn't really get a lot of shit about it. I maybe had like 1% of people that was like, "Oh, this is bullshit." Listen,
Yeah.
it's public record. Okay, it's probably something that would have been allowed in the trial. It just never had been brought up, and we saw snippets of it anyway. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I don't want to see just a fucking snippet. I want people to see the whole thing, because the court and what's brought in trial only shows a small portion of that situation or that small story. I wanted to open it wide up and say, okay, now that we have everything here, we can completely analyze it and look
Yeah.
at it and see it for what it is. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't get any pushback from the family. No one reached
Yeah.
out to me and said, "Oh, you're a fucking asshole, you're a motherfucker." Like,
Yeah.
if anything, they didn't say anything to me, you know. And anybody can access that. I mean, it's public record. And again, I wanted it to be out there and be full transparent so people can understand, like, this is how they treated Karen. You know, they violated her civil rights.
Yep.
And, you know, that conversation that Proctor has, that will be clipped. You know, do you fucking see her? She's fucking crazy. That will be clipped and played in court when she sues him for civil rights violations.
Yep, I totally agree. And also, I know that there was also some discussion by content creators about when she was rearrested, whether or not she should have spoken. She wanted to tell her story. Then Buchanan was like, "No, we don't want to hear from you right now." I'm paraphrasing. We communicated with your attorney. We're not gonna ask you questions right now. Just having these types of organic discussions about how things went down, I think, and really disclosing publicly what her experience was from the perspective of a body cam. I think those are very important discussions to have. And that's one of the reasons why I love your channel so much, because you stir those on and inspire them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. NH Dude says Cox isn't going anywhere voluntarily. He has the highest paid. He's the highest paid commissioner in the U.S., I believe. Wow.
Oof. Man, well,
let's find out
then it may be time for him to have a negotiated departure, NHD.
Yeah. Nan, he says, Nan, legally, is there anything that can be filed to get someone to look into Cox about the lies that he knew and what Deaver was involved in?
Yes, that's a good question, Red. So legally, if you don't mind keeping that up for a moment, Brian.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me go back.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a good question. Can something be done legally to have, to look into Cox lying? Yes, there's probably a few things that will happen to get to the heart of that. One will be that civil rights action that comes. Even though it's a little bit of a small piece to the pie, there will be some tangent that is gone down as to Kelly Devers' trustworthiness, credibility, and the like. Cox's as well, whether there was some type of intent to thwart her involvement or her knowledge as she reported it to the Fed. So it will come out through depositions in the civil rights action. I know that. But in addition to that, this may tie into a broader federal investigation. If there has been a conspiracy or some type of corruption that intertwines both the local jurisdiction of Norfolk County and Boston, based upon the players involved, that will immediately draw this into federal jurisdiction. So there's really two avenues where it will be looked into.
Yeah, and Terry's saying, I'm hoping this opens the door to finally clean house. I do as well. And here's the point that I want to make in all of this too, is that if you've all been following me, what I've been tracking down in Connecticut, and I'm gonna segue this into Cox. Clip that one, I guess.
Did he have to be named Cox?
Yeah, right. But I want you all to understand, and this is why I've gone at Mayor Franco. If you've been following kind of my saga down in Groton, Connecticut, there was a spitting allegation. I'm sure you've watched on the channel here, but there was a spitting allegation of when Sean Paul Reyes and his supporters went out back in in August. I'm sorry, in July. No, actually, during an August meeting, his incident was in July. In August, when they went to speak at the town council, there was an allegation that they had spit on the chair. Now, I've done this complete investigation. I've gotten FOIA'd, the town council room footage. We had other creators that were there that supplied footage, and we've debunked this whole thing. And that's why I've continued to go at Mayor Rachel Franco, Councilwoman Jill Rusk, and the town manager, Burt. Last name is Burt.
Mhm.
And the thing that I'm trying to make the point here, and I'm getting to my point, is that if an elected official is lying about something that is so small and minuscule about that, you have to start looking at what else are they lying about. And if Cox is lying allegedly about all of this, then you have to start peeling back and saying, well, what else is he lying about? And you can put that on Good. You can put that on Proctor. I don't want people that are in a position of power in our government, or people that are supposed to have the gun and a badge to protect us,
Right.
to lie. And if they're lying about small things, then what other big things are they lying about? And that's
Yep.
why this needs to absolutely be cleaned up. And that's why I tell people, do your research, gather the facts. If you feel the need that you need to start a platform or take part of these discussions or take part in these chats, holding a sign out on a corner to support someone that you feel that has been framed, donating to a cause, starting a fundraiser, getting behind some legal action, do that. Do that, because you may be next. You may be next in this situation. It could literally start with something simple as a traffic stop. And Nan,
Mhm.
how many
Mhm.
times in the history of traffic stops have we seen so much corruption and lies that get
Oh,
pinned
yeah.
on people, and they literally go away for 20, 30, 40, or their life in things that they didn't do? And this is
Yep.
why I also encourage, and I make this point and I'll turn this over to you. This is why I also encourage that I want body cams on every single officer that holds
Mhm.
a badge and a gun in this country. Let's keep them honest, okay?
Yeah.
Or at least try to keep them honest, because look what happened in Robert Brooks's case, where I'm completely disgusted about it. But we can look back and look at that footage and scrutinize it and go over it and have it be used in legal trials if people are being put up and they're being accused of something that they didn't do. I think that's a
Agree.
good first step to kind of narrowing down maybe 30, or I'm just throwing a number, 30 or 40% of corruption. I don't know what the number is going to be, but I like the ability of body cam, and listen, there are ways that it can be manipulated. Haven't seen that before, right? Or ways that things can be changed or not triggered, but it's a good start. No pun intended. Go ahead, Nan.
Oh, I agree. And hi to Mazza, who's in your chat. And I was
Yeah.
actually, he stole the
I like
words right out
what
of
he
my
just said.
mouth.
Right.
Right? It protects the public and the officers. And I completely agree. In addition to that, what's that old saying, like one person can ruin it for all? I mean, isn't it one of the reasons you and others are clamoring for body cams and for accountability and transparency through the use of body cams is because of the bad apples out there? They spoiled it for the good cops. But I do think that they also serve to protect the public as well. And also, one of the things that I don't think gets spoken about much with body cams is the fact that the body camera is objective. It's not subjective. So many times you'll see and we'll read reports of officers that are actually almost not verbatim of quotes. They'll just kind of put in a narrative of what someone has told them. Whereas an objective body cam, it doesn't lie. It gives the perspective, this is what is not, it's not changeable. This is what happened. Body cam, had there been body cams in some of the other more notable cases that I know we've spoken about up there, like the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, the Francis Gigliotti case, had there been the use of body cams, we may have more answers. We actually may have less prosecutions or more prosecutions of individuals if needed. So I don't understand why that is not the state of the art in every police department. I don't understand why Canton spent tens of thousands of dollars on the 5 Stones or 4 Stones police audit. Oh, there you go,
Yeah.
Kelsey, right? Yeah.
It would have
So
helped
they,
Kelsey's case. Yeah.
and I forget the name of the entity that conducted the audit for Canton PD. I think it's 4 Stones or 5 Stones, but
5
they spent
Stones.
they spent all this money on this police audit, and I believe one of the things that came out, one of the recommendations was they need body cams in place. But they also wanted to put other measures in place moving forward to prevent some problems that were tied to and not tied to the John O'Keefe death. But I don't even know, are body cams being used right now? Has someone actually expended the funds to make sure body cams are used in all circumstances moving forward? If I were a citizen of Canton, I'd want to know the answer to that at the next select board meeting.
Couldn't they put down like a federal regulation over that? I mean, I don't know how that
Yeah.
works. You know, like, couldn't they just the Fed step in and say everybody's got to wear one? I mean, look
Yes.
if they weren't wearing one in Robert Brooks's case, and that's
Yep.
a case that we covered here, and those 4 cameras didn't trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys would have got. I mean, granted, 2 of them fucking got away with it. Where I don't see where that jury saw that. But
We gotta
anyway,
talk
I mean,
about
it would have
that
been a lot
at some
worse.
point.
There would have been 13 officers walking free on the streets right now to continue to beat and kill people in Marcy Correctional Facility. They would have just passed that off like, oh, he fell down the stairs or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. That's where we'd be with Robert Brooks right now if those cameras didn't trigger.
You also see it in the in circumstances where females have been treated improperly generally by male officers, or circumstances where there's been inappropriate contact by a male officer to a female officer, or even a female officer. I'm saying officer too much. By a male officer to a female citizen, or a female officer to a male citizen. Many times that happens. I've had cases involving that, where clients or children of my clients have said, this is what happened with an officer when I was pulled over. So, as you've said, I've heard you say it, like the camera doesn't lie. So it should be state of the art. I don't know why it's not. I actually don't remember how we got down this tangent, but I think it's so important to emphasize that.
Yeah, I agree. And and this story came out today. Ted Daniel reporting cops can turn off their GPS in their cars so they can't be tracked all day. That is a fact. And that was a great story of something that Ted, that's what I love about Ted is he's just not afraid to dig in and attack and push back against, police departments here in Massachusetts. He does great investigative work. I've had an interview with him on the channel before, a very nice guy. To lend me the time to do that and talk about, his experience during the Karen Reed trials. And it was good to hear that kind of from, I don't know, like, I know Ted's mainstream, but I don't really call him that. I think he's just kind of one of the guys that are just in the press pool and not afraid to, to really dig in and put the stories out there that people are probably afraid to touch. I look at him in the sense of like, an independent journalist, like kind of like, I know he has an editor and probably, he has his boss, the SS questions, but he kind of just digs into those stories that people probably won't touch because why? They involve police officers and he doesn't want to be, framed or brought into anything. And I love it. I think he's great.
Yeah, I agree with the way you've described him as an outsider. I find his method of journalism very refreshing. He almost has like a little bit of a rogue approach.
Yeah, that's what I guess I'm getting at. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It's kind of independent. I mean, it's the way I would like to see good independent journalism as opposed to some independent journalism I've been seeing out there.
I'm going to give everybody a heads up. It's Ted Daniel. There's no S.
Oh, by the
There's
way,
no
why
S.
it looks like all
Go ahead.
your the font of your messages.
Yeah, I changed
is-
it.
You
Yeah, I
changed
changed
it's
it.
pretty. It looks very
It's bigger, so we can
Shakespearean.
read it.
Oh, see, he
Us
imposed
blind asses.
an accommodation for me.
Yeah, our blind asses. We can read them. Let's take a pause for a second. We'll finish with Proctor. Oh, by the way, I just got a FOIA request returned to me. Not MSP, but it is out of the state of New York, and I FOIA requested all of the complete Robert Brooks footage, so I should have that hopefully up on the channel, because what we only really went over in that video supplied by JB Nicholas was just portions of the video. So I think I'm going to be able to have all of the video, and I'll get those up for everybody if you're interested in that at some
Wow.
point over the next couple of days. Sandy, thank you so much for the $10 on Venmo. She says, "Hi, Brian. It's Sandy from New Hampshire, and I just wanted to say hi, and I love listening to you and Nan. Thank you so much." And Deborah Stewart, thank you. I appreciate it. $15 on the Cash App. Listen, if this is your first time over here, make sure to subscribe. It's very important. We tend to do these discussions on Monday night. I think this has been a great discussion so far. Let's get into Proctor. Some more things have come up in Proctor's case, and this guy is just the gift that just keeps on giving. I mean, look at that dickhead. That's that's sprouting the article here.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Of course.
Go back to the view you just had. But anyway, I just want to make a comment here for your audience, and this is my view and not that of the channel, but I find it very amusing to me personally that someone who looks the way that he looks, in my opinion, would be spouting anything negative about any defendant or any subject or potential subject of an investigation. In my opinion, he looks like absolute shit. So moving on.
I love this from NH2. Ted is more of a true investigative reporter versus a mainstream reporter that have an agenda or a story that's just fed to them by an editor, and they just say, "Here, run with it, read it." Yeah, I love that analysis. That's really great breakdown. Okay, so information on Fire Trooper Proctor's phone shows absolute bias, attorney says, and that is attorney Scarpiccio. That just has a lot to sound off here. So it says, the conduct of Karen Reed case that led Michael Proctor's firing for the state police does not appear to be a one-off. Attorney Rosemary Scarpiccio, I think I said it right, who represents two murder defendants, Miles Kings and Sean Johnson, whose cases were investigated by Proctor, said Thursday that the information pulled from his personal phone shows he was biased towards the defendants. That is not good. And we've seen this a la Karen Reed. And it says, quote, "If it's going to be very difficult, it's going to be a very difficult conversation to have with my clients, having to listen to this information and what is being understood, just how biased the investigation was," Scarpiccio said after a hearing on the issue of disclosing information generated by federal investigators into the Reed case. Prosecutors found intimate photos sent in a text chat on former Trooper Proctor's phone. During the investigation, Reed Proctor sent derogatory texts about her to her friends and family, including one saying he wished she would off herself. Those messages were first uncovered by federal investigation in the wake of the Reed case. Defense attorney, including Scarpiccio, sought access to Proctor's phone to determine whether the behavior in Reed's investigation was isolated. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. We've said that 1,000 times on this channel as well, too. I don't know how you read the information and that we have access to and not see an inherent bias, absolute bias of investigators that were investigating. The tranche of information from Proctor's personal phone was first disclosed to defense attorneys in the case he investigated last week after the district attorney office revealed it had found information beneficial to defendants on the phone. Another disclosure of the information is expected on Friday, Scarpiccio said. In the Reed case, prosecutors did not call Proctor to testify during her second trial, despite the role of the primary investigator. Scarpiccio indicated that he would call the former trooper if the government does not call him, as the witness at the trial for her clients. The bigger concern for Scarpiccio is whether Proctor's bias extended to other cases, including his supervisors. Quote, we don't know if the bias begins and ends at Trooper Proctor, but if it did, seeps out beyond that. And I'm sure it did because, she knows because this had Tully in it, had Buchanan in it, going back to the Reed case. And she says, we need to go back then and see who was investigating, whether we were not also tainted by what they have learned about Trooper Proctor. Michael Proctor, former Trooper Proctor. I think another thing to note here, Nan, and we talked about this on, the last stream, is that, racial texts, alleged racial texts were found on his phone as well. And that's kind of when he went, all right, I give up. He knew that shit was going to come out. Bottom line is this guy's a fucking scumbag. Okay. He's a fucking scumbag. He talks negatively about women. He has allegedly racial conversations on his phone with his buddies or maybe his superiors, and that needs to be fucking looked into. Yep. And now he's tainted literally every case that he has been involved in that would be in the court system probably for years that this fucking guy's tied to. And I'm going to tell you, man, I hope that this motherfucker gets called to every single case that he was a part of and has to get up there with a stack of text messages this thick and has to read every single one that he said about that suspect. The bad thing about this is some of these suspects might be actually fucking guilty and they could walk because of his behavior. So let's just say Brian Walsh, where I've been very opinionated on this.
Right.
I feel like the fucking guy did it. And
me too.
What he said in those conversations, and if there's anything that's, disparaging about Brian Walsh, I don't know. Were they accessing his phone and fucking passing nudes around of Anna Walsh to him and his friends? We don't know. That could be a possibility. Or sending pictures out of her. Hey, she's a babe. She's not its ass, whatever it is.
Right.
We don't know that. But this could absolutely corrupt that trial, that investigation, and this guy could fucking walk.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could say it any better than you just did, because I want him to suffer. I want him to have to be embarrassed moving forward the way that I'm sure Karen was embarrassed having her personal information being sprawled publicly. Although I dare say she probably might say I wasn't embarrassed. And I think I want to say I read in an article that she had said I wasn't embarrassed. I was angry by this. But she had her private information and opinions about her sprawled publicly because of this piece of
medical
shit.
Information.
Right. Medical information. And not only her medical information, but the twisting and insulting of it.
Right.
Which I won't give any examples, but it's one thing to have a medical condition and it's another thing for someone to make fun of it. But in addition to that, I want him to have to come to court on every single case and have to be accountable to his absolute inappropriate misconduct and dehumanization of defendants or subjects of investigations and the like. But in addition to that, as you said, there's going to be defendants who get off because the juries are going to buy into the fact that he's a bad cop who had biases. There's a reason why bias was utilized as one of a list of maybe 4 or 5 reasons why Proctor ultimately was disciplined. And the exhibiting of bias in the Karen Reed case was one of those reasons. Bias is something that it's insidious. It's not like, you exhibited bad judgment on this in this incident or you made this mistake. Bias is not a mistake. It's systemic. And I know I've been using that word several times this evening, but it's so important. And it's also systemic when you have other law enforcement personnel like Fanning and or Buchanan and or Tully and or others, Good, who allow this type of locker room talk, which is not just locker room talk, to persist. In addition, one last thing, because it's not just defendants who are going to likely be acquitted in some instances where the text messaging rose to the level of significance. And to answer one question that was raised by Little Miss Red Velvet a few minutes ago, she said, does the defense lawyers have to file motions to get this stuff? The answer to that is yes. But in addition to what I was just enumerating, one of the other key elements is that the prosecutor's office, which I have lots of problems with the Norfolk County prosecutor, they are going to be making decisions not to prosecute some crimes. So not only could defendants be acquitted by juries because of Proctor's misconduct and bias, but the prosecutors in the different counties where Proctor touched these cases, they may decide to drop charges or not to bring them all together. And that makes society more at risk. Yes, this is as important as everyone is making it. It's not just karma. It's not just vindictiveness or getting back at him for punishing Karen and putting her through this. This is about making your communities up there safer, and he needed to go, and I hope he suffers for the rest of his life in various ways.
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. It's an absolute clusterfuck. Steve asks, are cops held to HIPAA regulations?
So the answer to that, Steve, first of all, Steve, I'm a stickler. It's HIPAA, but that's okay. I knew where you were going. Cops are, so the short answer is there's an exception to the federal HIPAA law that talks about the exception for law enforcement being they are not held to HIPAA standards in general, but that doesn't necessarily translate to individual officers in all circumstances. In the circumstances of Michael Proctor, a reasonable argument and a strong argument could be made that he likely expanded beyond what he would have been permitted to know and or share under HIPAA because he wasn't using it for investigative purposes. He was using it for his own personal gratification, which also disturbs me on various levels. So it's a little bit of a nuanced answer. If you'd like more specifics, please feel free to message me on Facebook or X. I'm known as Laferio.
Let's do this one. I saw Joy, thanks for the 5. Said we tried to tell them to SU, but he wouldn't. Plus, we all seen the email between, I think she's talking about Cox, between the FBI regarding Diva and then seeing the schedule with the appointment with Diva. Yeah, absolutely, Joy. That's a great point. And, Attorney Hopkins did an amazing job of getting those emails. I love that communication. Joy pops up $5 again. Do you think if he did check into a facility, he's doing so that he can claim he was not in the right mind to avoid future prosecution or lawsuits? It's a good point, too. What do you think, Nan?
Maybe. He also may have a legitimate reason to be in a facility, whether it's substance or impairment related or mental health reason. However, I don't know, maybe he just needs to take a beat, as they say. I mean, his world is collapsing around him. I'm being figurative when I say that and a little bit literal when I say that. So, I mean, I certainly would not wish ill on him. And facilities are not, I want to be very clear when I say this, like if he has a need for substance or impairment services or is having a mental health related episode, he should absolutely be in a facility where he can get the care and treatment he needs. With that said, I wouldn't put it past him to be kind of hiding in there just to take a beat and to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't excuse his actions in the end. It doesn't excuse his actions. He was in the right frame of mind in all of this. And then Michael saying, could it be a PTSD claim?
Possibly.
And saying Walsh is in a facility too. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody's running to the facilities.
Wait, Walsh meaning Brian Walsh? Is Brian Walsh? I did not learn that.
No, he's just banged up because he got stabbed.
I thought he was discharged.
They're doing I think he's been discharged. Yeah, he's
And maybe I'm
discharged.
misunderstanding, but he's certainly, I think he's been discharged, and he's certainly in another kind of facility, meaning a
Let's
jail,
see. Oh,
which
look
may
at this.
ultimately happen to Proctor someday soon.
Let's do this. Brian Walsh. This is 3 days ago. Brian Walsh next court appearance schedule has been scheduled as cell phone evidence remains accessible. Court preserves key cell phone evidence ahead of Walsh's November hearing. It says a Norfolk County judge has set dates to Brian Walsh's murder trial weeks after ordering the defendant to undergo a mental health evaluation at Bridgewater State Hospital. Judge Diane Brenier, I think that's the way we say it, at the conference reviewing hearing on Friday, set that the next competency hearing is for November 14th, and the final pretrial conference is November 17th. Fucking goddamn fucking ad. Jury selection is yet to begin on the what's that?
Give a proportionate response. It was just an ad, but
Fucking
go ahead.
Yeah. Frenia said that she hopes to wrap this trial up by Christmas. Of course, Frenia said hope is not a plan while setting the hearing dates to choose 16 jurors for a case. Also explains how the jury selection process will work and asked, that the prosecutor's defense submit their final motions by next Friday. Let's see. Despite Walsh showing progress since the attacks, Walsh's lawyer, Larry Tipton, previously wrote in court documents that the mental and physical efforts of the violent assault continued at previous. Walsh has fully participated in his preparing his defense, adding that he was not functioning at the same level as before the incident. Well, how about this? How about not killing your fucking wife and spreading her all over Cohasset, and you wouldn't be in this fucking situation? I don't feel bad for these people. Allegedly, I don't feel bad for these people. On Thursday, Massachusetts Superior Judge Peter Corrupt ordered that the offices of United States attorneys preserve the sealed proof from the federal investigation into Karen Reed's case, blocking plans to destroy it by Friday. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And it isn't, by the way, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that is interesting. Also, I think
I love the preservation.
Yeah, I love the preservation, and your chat has been so exceptionally helpful this evening because they're even talking about Walsh having this evaluation, which I guess that came out on Halloween or the day before, which I didn't even stay up on that update, which is really great. It's been a good collective effort here.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that you guys are taking part of the conversation. Okay, just had to do some cleanup there, and we will move on with talking about cases. That's what we do here. We talk about cases. Let's see. The ruling came Thursday in Norfolk Superior Court after attorneys for Walsh's defense team asked the court to prevent the evidence, including data from Stormer State Police Trooper Michael Proctor's cell phone, from being erased. The hearing was part of an ongoing legal fight by several Norfolk County defendants seeking access to the material. The other defendants who cases Proctor investigator are looking into is Miles King for a fatal Milton shooting in 2021, and Giovanni De Los Santos and Sean Johnson for murder before a July 4th shooting in 2022. And we talked about this earlier. Scarpiccio, some grand jury materials involving Proctor, who led to the Reed investigation, was allowed to be turned over to the defendants for review. Corrupt approved a protective order allowing the defense attorney to receive copies of Proctor's phone files while bearing public disclosure. Last week, prosecutors revealed that Proctor's cell phone contained images of intimate body parts and other sensitive information. And it's funny, they won't talk about the racial. I only seen it in one article, man. They will not fucking bring this up. And that is a major issue in this as well, too. This motherfucker was sharing stuff, talking about, negatively about Karen or medical conditions, but they keep shielding these racial implications. And apparently, to what that news article said, they're in there.
It's a hot, as pardon me for interrupting you.
Yeah, of course.
It's a hot button topic, very sensitive. Also, to discuss it, which is an important topic, without having the content, it can be a little risky to do that. I do think that more news organizations and content creators should be spreading the messaging on this, but no one really understands the gravity of what he put in writing. That may come to light someday. But I do think that it's, what do they call that? It's a powder keg. So many times these types of discussions on racially charged or ethnically charged issues can really explode and become big, pervasive, very volatile discussions. I do wish more people would speak up about it, though.
Of course, but it's pertinent to this discussion. If the evidence is there and it shows that it has been done, that is part of this discussion. It is part of this discussion, and it should never be forgiven. It should never be forgiven. If he said awful things using racial epitaphs, and again, I'm only speculating here, but it should, it is part of this conversation. It just even puts a more of a stain on him. If you allow the destruction of these documents that have ever been able to be reviewed in the entirety, we lose the opportunity to review them. And it would certainly prejudice my client. Let's see here. Norfolk District Attorney Lisa Betty did not see the relevance to the Walsh case. Tipton responded, "It is important to show how he conducted the investigation." Rupp noted, hypothetically, federal materials could show the police supervision knew about Proctor's behavior and failed to discipline him, which could also be exculpatory evidence.
Right.
When Beatty returned the confidential materials on Friday, Rupp ordered her to provide a copy of the order to the U.S. District Attorney's Office. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the more I read this and I think about it, I just say to myself, there's more that's going to come to light on this. It's not just going to be the Miles King case or the Brian Walsh case. We're going to see a systemic, a systemic rollout of all of the cases. And I think I saw them footnoted in some pleading the other day, a bunch of different cases where these text messages will become very notable and relevant. And it's probably broader than we even think. So, Proctor is going to have a very difficult road to toe ahead. I hope he has good savings, because he'll probably end up having to pay not only for lawyers, but the way I'm viewing things, he may end up paying alimony and child support when his wife's done with him. My opinion, of course.
His name is so funny. Welcher's emotional support laptop.
I love that. I've seen that.
Bev's like, can you just shut your fucking laptop? Like, shut it down. I love that.
He was, and I want to say that handle popped up like right around then, and I was like, that's good. That's some good shit right there. Do the feds have to listen to Judge Krupp? Gosh, on what? Specific Krupp has said, first of all, I don't like Judge Krupp. I'm not going to malign him, but I'm not picking up what he's putting down, but I don't know what you're specifically asking me.
Yeah, if you have a little bit more specific, put it in the chat.
And technically, the feds are it's a different jurisdiction. It's a different animal. Yeah. So it would be the rarest of circumstances where a federal investigative body has to specifically adhere to the findings of a state court judge. There are some exceptions to that, but that's the general rule.
Nan, and I just want to, before we get to this question, I want to pull this up. Stacy said it'll be interesting to see what the union does with whoever is in that phone. They might not want to touch them with the 10-foot pole. By the way, if you don't know, the union is not standing behind Proctor anymore. And that was the biggest thing in kind of dropping his case as well. And also, what I just talked about a couple of minutes ago, the other disparaging text and the racial implication text that could be in there as well, too. They don't want to have anything to do with that. And that's a good point too, Stacy. Lily Rose asking, Nan, do you think the fallout from Proctor's text could affect other crimes for which people are in prison? That's a great point. Yeah, because it offers the defense attorneys to say, hey, by the way, my client's been sitting in prison for 10 years and we just found out this cop is corrupt. What other things did he have his hands in?
Well, also, Lily, that's another great comment there, or question, because not only could this affect people who have been convicted, but let's go one step further. People where these texts may affect those who have been convicted and may have been determined in the future to have been wrongfully convicted, guess what they're then going to do if they're determined to be released? They're going to file very substantial, very cost draining, and very expensive civil rights actions against, you name it, whether it's the state, meaning the Commonwealth, the county, individuals like Proctor who may or may not have acted inappropriately. Those are going to be extremely expensive price tags for the Commonwealth and its other related agencies, et cetera, to pay. So that is why people like me continue to follow stories like this. That is going to make people like you or anyone else who is vested and invested in following stories like this all the more interested and want to reveal all of this, because it is a matter of relevance for taxpayers there.
Yeah.
It really is.
100%. Let's end with this one. I want to give Nan some time. She has a commitment at 7 o'clock, so I want to give her some time so she can settle in for her next commitment. But let's see this. KPT question: if Proctor moves out of state, would he be out of reach of a Massachusetts subpoena?
Nope. There are some steps that need to be taken, KPT, to get an out-of-state subpoena, but they're easily surmounted.
Yeah.
Now, if he moves to like a non-extradition country, that's a whole different story. But if he's just going to a different state, they'll get him.
Yeah, and Little Miss Velvet, thank you for all your questions tonight, and good night. Good night. She says, thank you, Brian and Nan, for your legal analysis. Always learn so much about the U.S. justice system. Well, thank you for being here. How about we do this one really quick? Sorry if I answered this before, beautiful Nan, but what do you think the risk of seeing Proctor not being allowed held accountable by DA Meatball, just like he did with Matthew Barwell?
Oh, well, first of all, hello, Lady Zelda. Good to see you, beautiful as well. And I loved your programs this weekend. What do I think about the risk of seeing Proctor not being held accountable? I think that's likely high in terms of what the prosecutor, District Attorney Meatball Morrissey, can do. I mean, that's high, that I don't think Morrissey would prosecute him or hold him accountable. But there's other bodies that can, because he was a state trooper. So this would fall outside of necessarily the county of Norfolk, but it can also fall under the Commonwealth's jurisdiction to penalize him. So I'm not so worried about what Meatball and his own level of corruption will or will not do. It's what the Commonwealth itself will do. And as all evidence is showing me, including statements made publicly by Colonel Noble, who was brought in from Jersey, by the way, that they're going to hold him accountable.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been a very great discussion. We kind of jumped all over the map, but it was all very relative to what is going on in Karen Reed's case and all these other cases that are going on in the state of Massachusetts. So, look, we're going to keep a watchful eye on this. Anyway, I just want to let anybody know, for anybody that's following Sean Paul Reyes's case, that is the Long Island audit, I just got a message, and his next court hearing is going to be on December 9th, 2025, and that will take place in Willimantic Courthouse, and that is in Danielson, Connecticut. I'm going to try to make it out there to support him, and I couldn't make tonight's Groton, Connecticut town meeting, but I do plan on going back there in December, and I will be much more prepared with some more evidence, and I will question John Burt and Mayor Franco and Councilwoman Joe Rusk if they want to issue an apology pending all the evidence that we've come forward with. And I know they watch the channel. So if you're watching tonight, please, if you want to issue an apology back to the public here that you lied about this incident, we would love to hear from you. Other than that, this is my guest for the evening, attorney Nan Gallagher. Great conversation here this evening, like I said, all over the map. And again, if people haven't seen the body cam footage that I released a couple of weeks ago, you can go on my homepage, and that's the Karen Reed body cam footage. Look under the playlist for Karen Reed body cam footage, and you'll be able to watch through it all, and do that and share it. You know, it's very important. Transparency is always great, and that's what we want to try to keep doing here and empower the people that watch this channel, subscribe to it, and support it. You know, Karen Reed still has a lot of work to do here in the state of Massachusetts, and we still have a lot of cases to watch and keep a watchful eye on. So, Nan, any parting words before we get out of here?
Just want to thank you for having me. I continue to be an avid supporter of your channel and your mission, and a big fan, and I have been for a long time. And there's a reason that I always say yes when you ask, because I believe in you and your content. And thank you to the chat for interacting so respectfully this evening. And I hope to get invited back.
Yeah, thank you. You'll be here, believe me.
I
again,
can't go away.
Take your calendars out, mark it down, November 21st, Karen Reed civil hearing, and we'll keep an eye out for that. I'm sure that it's going to be broadcasted. So thank you so much. This is my guest, Attorney Nan Gallagher. I am LTL. Please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for being here. Listen, we love you too. We love you too. And we try to just keep putting in the work. Try to keep putting in the work and bringing content forward for all of you guys. All right, we're going to get out of here. Nan's got another commitment here at 7 o'clock. I want to give some time back to you. All right, love you, everybody. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Bye.